This is the boundary. Okay? Inside will, there are attractions and appetites. As long as he acts on those within this boundary, there's no sin. But like a giant magnet, temptation tries to apply pressure on will. It's trying to get through his eye gate, his ear gate, down into something that's from God, and it's designed to draw on that and put pressure on that. Why? To say, look, if I take the magnet away, you can act on it there and please God all day long, but if I can draw you out of the boundary and get you to act on it, now what was holy is now sin. But I can't get you out of that. Why? As long as you're agreeing with the boundary, it says, man, Will says, I can't touch that, I'll die. And all I got to do is say, man, you ain't going to die. It's going to make you better. Or I'll say something like, instead of you ain't going to die, I'm going to say, hey, you can't help what you feel.
Teach it, Pastor. Teach it. Teach it.
Hey, you weren't seeking this relationship. It found you. Hey, you're not happy in your marriage anyway.
Teach it.
Hey, there was lots of people in the old days that had relationships with young girls. I mean, we're the one that raised the marriage age. Back in by the Bible days, they were 14 anyway. I mean, this ain't it. It's the world is confused, not me. There's nothing wrong with a 40-year-old and a 14-year-old girl. Why? Because, 14, Mary was 14 when she had Jesus. And now all of a sudden, you get enough words and images planted in your mind that which you wouldn't touch before, now all of a sudden you'll step outside of the boundary. And you're not doing anything outside of the boundary that's not from God. It's the expression of it that's not of God. And temptation says, what can I do to draw them out here? You can't tempt Will to eat trash. You can't tempt Will. Listen, you can't tempt me to eat fish. Pastor, I know you're dying, but I made you some fried, what's that stuff you wanted in London? The fish and chips? Cod. I made you some cod, man. Pastor, it's hot fish right here. It's good. Hush puppies. Some malt vinegar, coleslaw. Come on. I'm okay. Pastor, you want to smell it? No. In order for it to be a temptation, got to find something in a man. Something to hook. And really, the tree to be desired to make one wise wasn't really that big of a deal. God already made them to desire dominion. See, it was the combination of things. See, there's nothing wrong with desire for money, but when you confuse money with power, and nothing wrong with having a nice car, but when you say, I have low self-esteem, I want a car to make me feel better, you're combining desires that were never meant to be combined. Seeing the tree good for food and pleasant to the eyes wasn't no big deal, but now wanting to combine those appetites with the desire to increase. It's literally what Satan did at the beginning. Satan said, you know what, I'm not happy being here. I want to be like the Most High God. I want to set my throne up where He did. And he took the same appetite that he had and tried to play on and leave. He said, Eve, here's what's happening. Now look, don't you say I said that. But the real reason He don't want you near that tree is He's keeping something back from you. Now, I know you have a desire for dominion because God put it there. This is the key to that desire. Now, you didn't hear it from me. I'm just saying. And now, all of a sudden, Eve pushed that boundary aside. And you know, Adam, we have an idea that Adam was in Texas somewhere. On business. Adam was right there. And Adam, like a scared man, wanted to see what was going to happen to her first. Adolf Hitler committed suicide before he died right there in his bunker. But before he did it, being the man that he was, he gave his dog the cyanide pill first to see what happens. Because if I'm going to freak out, I might do it another way. Think of that now. So Adam's watching this whole thing go down. And Eve says, I'm going to tell you something. He said, go ahead. So Eve gets her, and Adam says, and she goes, Boy, I do feel different. Adam says, you do? Yeah. Adam, It is good for food. It's pleasant to the eyes. But then all of a sudden they notice something they'd never seen. Shame, fear, guilt. When you're enjoying the appetites and attractions inside the boundary, no shame, no fear, no guilt. You get into pornography, all this other perversion, I don't care. You'll never convince yourself that it's normal ever. Why? Because it was never these things God built in you. See, that's why people wrestle with it their whole lives. People get married and remarried in this relationship, that relationship, and they act on all this stuff. And my theory is this: if it was all so perfectly normal, would we be having a discussion about the value of its normalcy? I mean, Oprah had a man on having a baby the other day. Did y'all see the man having the baby? It's not really a man having a baby. That's how she sold it. It's a woman who's had some add-ons, some upgrades, some new equipment, and she got pregnant. And they were interviewing, and she's got a beard and everything. But you know what? She had to stop taking the testosterone injection to have a baby because you listen. You can put a fourth arm on a person if you want to. Doesn't mean it's natural. Oh, yeah, man, I had a baby. Listen, you can inject stuff with every sauce, dipping sauce, put parts on you, make me a robot. You can do whatever you want to. It doesn't mean that's natural, but here's the thing about it. Here's the thing. We have discussions about stuff, if when Connie was pregnant, they said, yeah, Pastor Connie's having a baby. And Nobody said, how do you feel about that? About what? About a woman having a baby. I don't know. How should I feel about it? We've never once voted on if we should be allowed to have babies or not. And never said, well, I'll take a vote that it should be the man to have the baby. Never happened. We never voted on it one time. We don't have to debate it on Congress, Capitol Hill. We don't have to get science we don't have to do medical journal studies to find out if that's normal or not. Or this never has to be disputed. The only thing that's in debate is what's outside the boundary. That's the only thing that's in debate. And I'm not trying to shame anybody. That's not my point. Listen, this is not trying to shame. I'm just trying to provide what the real issue is. The real issue is not is the appetite legitimate, not is the desire legitimate. I'm trying to find out is the expression of it inside the boundaries or not. See, because the man who's in incest, the 40-year-old teacher who's sleeping with a 16-year-old boy in her class, they're all expressing legitimate desire. They're just doing it illegitimately. They're responding to what's pleasant to the sight and good for food. They're just doing it outside of the line of what God said to enjoy.